Would you like to start off by telling us your name and what kind of disability you have?
My name is Alex Shesko, and I have spastic cerebral palsy.
How would you describe your experience on campus?
I would say my experience on campus is pretty good for the most part. I mean, physically speaking, the campus itself is pretty flat, so it's easy to get around, and it's pretty handicap accessible, which is nice. The people here are pretty welcoming, pretty open for the most part. I mean, there's the occasional moment where you have people that'll look in my direction and they'll look away automatically, like they're afraid of me, or like they're like, oh, maybe if I don't look at him he'll disappear or whatever, But occasionally I'll get a good couple people to like look at me, say hi, as I say hi back, or I'll try to initiate a conversation, that kind of thing. But other than that, it's pretty good for the most part. So.
What's your biggest difficulty with the way the campus is set up?
My biggest difficulty, I haven't actually thought about it honestly, because I haven't had many. I would just say my biggest difficulty, again, it's just the people. Like, just the ignorance of some people, it's just that's about it. But otherwise, physically speaking, the campus itself is fine.
What difficulties do you face in general outside of this campus?
You have ignorance. People, little kids stop their parents at the store and they, ask, Mommy, why does that kid walk with crutches or whatever? And the parent will always say, oh, his legs are broken, or things like that. Aside from that, I also have problems with dating. People don't want to date somebody who has problems, disabilities. And, so that I come across that a lot, and I come across a lot of ignorance in that regard. With me, it just seems to be like, I just want to educate people in that regard. I just want to make people aware, no, my legs aren't broken, no, I'm physically and emotionally and mentally fine. It's just my body doesn't work the way normal people's bodies work. So.
What discrimination have you experienced based on your disability?
Well, as I just mentioned, like dating, people think that, it'd be hard to date somebody with a disability. In my case, it's really not. I mean, I'm very physically functional, and in every other regard, I'm completely fine. But dating and actually doing things like driving a car, I don't drive because of my disability. I don't. It's hard for me to pick things up because obviously my hands are full of my crutches, so it's kind of hard to do things. And aside from that, dealing with my body on a daily basis, doing exercises constantly, stretching myself out. A lot of people don't. Again, normal people don't do that. They don't do exercises on a daily basis like the ones that I do, and so I feel kind of alienated in that way. I feel kind of disassociated from people in that way. So.
How do people interact with you that ends up being more hurtful than helpful?
As a person, I'm fairly independent. I'm fairly stubborn as an individual, so when a lot of people ask me for help constantly, I tend to get annoyed in that regard. People do try to help me, but they just kind of end up annoying that crap out of me in that way. People also tend to do things for me when I don't need them to. Like, there'll be people that will be like, oh, do you need me to pull that chair out for you? No, I got it, thanks. I don't need your help, thanks. They try to be nice. I understand that. I'm not a prude or anything. But, it gets annoying after a while. Like, being constantly asked, do you need help? It's just like, no. If I need help, I'll ask for it. It's kind of my attitude. So.
What's something that you wish people knew?
I wish people were just more educated in general about disabilities, including not just my own, but like mental retardations, schizophrenia, all the other disabilities, because there are so many people that just assume things about other people based on how they look or how they act, and just, if you don't know the whole story, don't assume anything, because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble that way. And it just makes people ignorant as individuals. It's one of the things I plan to do with my future is I eventually just plan to do speaking. I plan to speak to people on a general scale about people with disabilities and about the fact that we're actually a lot stronger than what we appear to be. You know, we're not just people who are just struggling in our daily lives. We're people regardless. We're people just like you who, you know, are trying to make a living and trying to survive and trying to be happy. You know, we may not have all the things normal people do, but what we do have is something that's a lot greater, and that essentially what that is a perspective that you guys will never have, which is something that I wish to share with the world. So.